Hey, MTS crew, what is going on, y'all? Y'all remember the interview I did for the students at Georgia State? Well, from there, it's this lady from Forbes magazine. She wanted to interview me about the racial lines, the invisible wall in the neighborhood that I stayed in. So we're going to do a Zoom interview. So y'all, this is for Forbes magazine. So I'm going to just let y'all kind of listen to the Zoom meeting. Be right back. Oh, I forgot to say one thing, MTS crew. This interview we had, I mean, it's not to bash anyone's race or color. This is just my truth. This is some of the things in this interview, the things that she wanted to know, the things that happened to me. So I'm not prejudiced by any means. I love everybody. I understand that, you know, what happened back in slavery, you know, people that's, you know, in our generation now, a lot of them, you know, are not prejudiced. It's just, I don't have any prejudice against anyone, but I hope you're not offended by anything that I have said in this interview, but I'm only telling my truth, and my truth is my truth, right? Okay.
Me. Okay. And then what I'll probably cite you as like a long-time Atlanta resident. What area of town do you live in?
During that time,
Well, yeah. Why did you tell me then and now?
Okay. Well, then I lived in an area called Fourth Ward, and I also lived in a predominantly black area called Summer Hill.
Okay, yeah, I know Summer Hill. I live in Old Fourth Ward.
You live in Old Fourth Ward?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I live on Highland, right down from Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you lived in Old Fourth Ward then, but you live in Summer Hill now.
No, I live in those are the areas I lived in. Fourth Ward. I was raised in Fourth Ward and Summer Hill, and now I live in Stone Mountain.
Okay. Did they used to call it Fourth Ward back then, or is there a difference between Old Fourth Ward and Fourth Ward?
I've heard of Old Fourth Ward, but I just don't know the difference. I just don't, you know, maybe they call the Old Fourth Ward going back toward like the Highland area, but round by like the Grady Hospital and all that, that was considered Fourth Ward.
Okay. And how long have you lived in Atlanta?
All my life, 60, soon to be 64 years.
Oh, good for you.
Born and raised.
All right. So tell me how you got involved with this project first.
Well, actually, I have an internet YouTube channel. And one of the students, I guess they saw my channel, and I was talking about where I was born and raised, and I was talking about the Fourth Ward area, the Summer Hill area, and they contacted me, Miss Townsend, Janine Townsend. She contacted me, and she thought it was interesting, you know, and that's how I kind of, you know, got involved.
Okay, and what's your YouTube channel about? Is it a particular topic or just random things?
It's just random things. On Tuesday, I do what I call Testimony Tuesday. On Thursday, I do what I call Throwback Thursday. That's throwback meals and anything throwback. You know, I do that. And just different things. But I mainly do...
the fact that it was this, you know, random white guy who decided to kind of put this together. Because one of the things I feel strongly about is everybody can do something to fight racism. Like, you don't have to have, you don't have to be a historian, you don't have to have a degree in Black studies.
True.
Like, I need the everyday white person to use their influence to actually make a difference. I need the everyday Black person. I need the everyday everybody.
That's right.
I think white people in particular, part of my frustration, particularly with like white progressives or white liberals who, you know, feel like what we're doing a lot, is I feel like they stick that Black Lives Matter sign in their yard. And
yes.
There's so much lip service,
yes.
but there's so little action. And so what I'm trying to do with this piece is show people that anybody can make a difference. Like, there wasn't something special necessarily about Chip, but he just took the time to actually do something. I mean,
he had a lot of information. You know, he had a lot of information because I didn't know one of the streets, I think it's Monroe, was named after a grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. See, he brought that information to me. I never knew that streets were named after the Klans.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I'm going to put that down. Because I just got off the phone with the woman who was the kind of amateur historian, Victoria Lemos. And so she told me a lot of stuff. So at any rate, let me kind of begin at the beginning. So first, I just want to get a sense of when you were growing up, I mean, you grew up in a segregated sort of situation. Just talk to me in general about what the segregation My mom grew up in South Carolina, so it was segregated. But she grew up on this huge farm. So she didn't really interact with anybody, honestly. You know, she went to a black school, and I think she just didn't know any different. She didn't really think a whole lot about white people, but certainly she knew certain things she couldn't do, and she grew up during Jim Crow. And so just talk to me a little bit about that, and then I want to move into Ponce de Leon in particular, or the neighborhood in particular.
Okay. Well, where I grew up, there wasn't any white people per se in my neighborhood. I grew up, have you heard of, I know you've heard of the Sweet Auburn Avenue area, Butler Street area, and we stayed in a 2-story house on Butler Street. And my mom, she kind of kept me guarded and close to her, and I didn't really know a lot about segregation, integration, you know, when I was growing up, because they definitely didn't teach it to you in school. So I didn't know a lot about it. So my mom, she just kept me guarded, but she also let me know it was certain places that we could not go. You know, so she learned me to stay in my lane. And that's what I did. I stayed in my lane. I was not around a lot of white people at all. Not in that area that I live. And back in then, when you would see a white person in the area where I was living, you know, the other white people would say they are slumming. You know, because of what, you know, being around black people. If you were white back then and you hung around black people, you were ostracized just like the black ones. You know, so, and I remember when I was a little girl, I had to be around maybe 13, 14 years old. One of our friends, which was about 16 years old, he was hung right there going toward the Summer Hill area because he crossed the line. He went over to, you know, it was like one part black, one part white. And this one particular night, he came through by himself and they hung him from a tree. We heard everybody screaming and hollering, and this guy was hanging from a tree. So that's when I really learned about segregation and all that, you know. But my mom,
Do you remember his name?
His name was Charles. I can't remember his last name. And I was speaking to my cousin, which is older than me. He's a guy. I was talking to him the other night, and I asked him, did he remember Charles? He said, yeah. He said, that was our friend. So I didn't ask his last name, but he said, yeah, I remember. He said, he's told me that 3 white boys hung him. I don't know how he knows it was 3 white boys, but it never was in the newspaper. We never heard it on the news. But this young boy was hanging from a tree, right going down Hill Street, between Hill Street and Cherokee. And that's the area too that we weren't allowed, you know, black people weren't allowed. So I learned as a child to just stay in my lane. And years ago, I used to be afraid to be around white people because, you know, not that my mother taught me a lot about, you know, being prejudiced, because she didn't. It's just, you know, it was just a scary time, especially after Dr. King was murdered. And I remember we stayed upstairs, and I remember when they had his funeral procession, and they were coming down Auburn Avenue. We were like maybe 5 steps from his funeral procession. I got a chance to see Harry Belafonte, all of them in his funeral procession. So after Dr. King was killed, and I seen, you know, all the people, I was 12 years old, then everything kind of got real to me. So I kind of was like inverted when it comes to being around white people. It took me a long time. I almost became an adult before I felt comfortable, you know, so.
Right. So how old were you when the lynching happened?
I had to be around maybe 12, about 10 or 12, about 10 or 12.
Okay, and let me also, I'm just taking some notes. Let me also, let's see, shooters. Oh yeah, you said, yeah, okay. So was there like a specific barrier, like was there a specific line that you knew that you weren't supposed to go across, or was it just like your mom said, okay, you can go up to this street, but don't go any further, or something like that?
I didn't go anywhere past Boulevard. You know how it's Ponce de Leon, it's Boulevard, then Monroe jumps on the other side.
Right.
I didn't go there. No, we couldn't go there. And down Briarcliff, no. You could work down there in those places, but if you were black, you could not live there. You could not rent an apartment there. You couldn't do anything. So I just didn't feel comfortable down there. My mother, she didn't tell me about an invisible line, a wall, but she did tell me that she just don't visit those areas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember, I mean, I know this is a long time ago, but do you remember feeling any kind of way about it, or it was just where y'all stayed. And, do you remember feeling any sort of like frustration or upset or anything like that?
I remember feeling, now this was after Dr. King was killed. I remember feeling sad, and I remember wondering what was the reason that white people were so prejudiced against black people. I just began to feel, I was just feeling awful about that. And now my mom, for as me going in areas I shouldn't go, I really didn't think about it that much. I just did what my mother said, because I knew that she was there to protect me. So if she said, we're going here and we're not going there. So we kind of stayed in our community. We stayed in our community.
My mom said too, right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me this. So now that, Chip put this video together, it's not like this is the only thing. I mean, they've been arguing about Confederate statues, and there's just lots of things. Unfortunately, there are lots of relics of the segregated and racist past.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who are going to feel like, well, we're past that. I mean, most people, when they drive down Ponce, they don't even think about that. Why go through the effort of changing anything? Or why, change the street names? Why take the statues down? What's your response to that?
I feel like they should take every statue down, change every name that has something to do with anybody that owned slaves, anybody that's was with the Ku Klux Klan. I just feel like they should take them down, because every time a black person look at this stuff and they know what happened, it makes them feel some kind of way. And it makes me feel, to walk down Ponce, and if I see a Confederate soldier there and I knew what they represent, I know what they represent, it's just going to make me feel some kind of way. I'd rather for them to be gone.
Right. And, okay, I'm going to put it down. And do you feel like black people who are in Atlanta, who were here during that time, do you think that they are aware of these things? Do you think they have an awareness of a lot of this?
No, because I didn't, and my mother did not. I was not aware of the street names. I just didn't know, and my mother didn't. Only thing that she knew is that we didn't cross over Ponce. And go that way, but I didn't know that there was a Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan name on the street. I don't think a lot of black people in my community, I really don't think they really knew anything about this. This is the first time I'm even hearing about it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's awareness. I've been in this house, we're right down from Boulevard for 14 years, and I had no idea. And I traveled that area so much. I mean, I drive out on Ponce like pretty much every day.
Yeah, the Ponce City Market is there. See, I feel comfortable going down there. I mean, it's a mixed race of people always down there. So I feel comfortable going to the Ponce City Market and anywhere I need to go around there. But see, back in the day, it was the old Sears building. And I remember they had a Sears outlet in the bottom of the building. I remember going there a couple of times, but never going over to, no.
Do you know? Okay.
I would have to get it for you, and I can email it to you, or call and give it to you, or however, text it to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine either way. Is there anything else you want to say on the topic, or anything else you want to say about the initiative? Anything you would say to city leadership, for example, if they say, it's too cumbersome, or costs too much to change the street names? What would your response be?
I don't think it's too cumbersome to even to talk about changing a street name, because I feel like we are human beings and we have every right to feel comfortable in our own cities, and which we help to build, and then, we have all these Confederate street names and statues or whatever. That don't make me feel comfortable. So I would say to the city council or whoever, it's just time to make a change. Out with the old and in with the new. It's a new day.
Right.
It's a new day.
Yeah. Let's get this down. All right.
And the elementary school that I went to, it was the name of it was Young Street School, and that's the school that Dr. King, he went to that school also, and that was a predominantly black school. I mean, no white people at all, so we just wasn't around a lot of white people.
Exactly, yeah. And I think there was some benefit to that too, honestly, because what people don't understand, it was terror. I mean, it was a time of literal terror. Like, I remember talking to my grandfather when he was still alive, and I just never forget, like, when I was young, I remember I used to always, like, I'd come up to him and I'd start telling him a story about something that happened, and then it's like, people would immediately feel like, on his face. And then he would always ask me, were they white or colored? Were they white or colored? And that was the first
People were terrified. They were terrified. I remember back in then, the insurance man, as they call it, used to come to the house to collect the money, the burial insurance. The burial insurance money. And I remember hiding behind my mother. I had to be maybe around 6 years old. And I remember holding on to her. They couldn't help it. That's...
It was horrible. Just a horrible. And another thing that really frustrates me is, so now when we talk about this in the national discourse, or people talk about reparations and things like that, they try to act like this kind of discrimination was 300 years ago.
Oh, it's still going on.
But I'm like, but these people are still alive. Not to mention the fact that it's still going on. But legalized discrimination. People who were impacted by that are still alive. They're alive now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to just be slavery.
Yes.
Jim Crow was legalized discrimination. Redlining was legalized discrimination. Black people not getting the GI Bill. Black people not getting their Social Security money, the New Deal benefits. All of this was legalized, and it's within my lifetime. It's within your lifetime. You don't have to go back 500 years to find legalized discrimination, even like with the desegregation. So what happened with the school in terms of, so how old were you in 54? I'm trying to think when the schools were desegregated. At what point did you have school with white people?
I never had school with white people. Never. I went from H.I. Butler Elementary School to Washington High School. Never. Not one white person. I didn't have really a lot of contact. My mother, she worked for this one white lady for years, and the first time a white person ever gave me a hug was her. So she treated me real nice, and she treated my mother real nice, but we just didn't have anything to do with white people, because my mother told me that her mother had gone through a lot, and my mother, she went through a lot, but my mother was tough. So she said one day she was getting off the bus, and the bus was real crowded, so she said she had to sit on the steps of the back of the bus. And she said this white man told her, he said, "Gal, when I get ready to get off the bus on my stop, I'm gonna take my foot and kick you in the behind." And my mama said it was on. She told him, she said, "You can try that. You can try that." But she said she was just ready. She was so enraged with how white people was treating black people, until she was ready to go to jail that day if that man had put his foot on her. They just looked at us beneath them. And my mom, she
just acknowledged that you're being terrorized and you're being treated like a second-class citizen, and refusing to accept that, and feeling frustration at people who are terrorizing you. It just was what it was. So, so I really appreciate this. I'm gonna write this article probably next week sometime, and so I will try to remember to email you.
Please do. Yes.
Out. But is it okay if maybe I email you if I have like a follow-up question or something? You could just email me back a response.
Anytime.
Well, thank you. And and if you can email me, if you can think of anybody else who was around during that time, well, because I think that your voice really needs to be represented. And so I'm going to try to do that as much as I can.
Yes. I really appreciate you doing what you're doing and writing the article. I just feel like a lot of black people like my age and older, their voice is not being heard, because a lot of people still are hurt from what happened to them, back in then, so. And my husband was friends with, now this is in Alabama, my husband was friends with, the little girls, they got the little girls that got bombed in that Alabama church. Right. One of the little girls was my husband's friend. So, and he still talks about that. Right. So, we can't forget.
Right. I know.
It's hard.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, so I'll be looking forward to reading that article.
Oh yeah. It'll be there. Just give me like, I think it probably can help.
Okay, MTS crew, that concludes my interview with Miss Brownlee from Forbes magazine. And one thing that I want to say is that you never know who's looking. You never know who's watching, because the students, like I was saying before, from Georgia State, they are doing a piece, and this is going through the city council, and they're trying to get names changed in the area that I used to stay, because of there used to be a racial barrier, a racial wall there. So they're doing some wonderful things, and so they asked me to be a part of it. So I did my one interview, and I'm gonna post that. But I haven't got the finish. I did a rough draft, so she's going to send me the finish, and I'll post that. And this article is going to be in the Forbes magazine, and she's going to send me the article, so I'll share the article with you. And I'll let you know also when the article is out. Maybe, you might want to buy the magazine. I don't know, but I'll share the article with you from Forbes magazine, y'all. And I appreciate y'all. And you know what? Be good to yourself. And if you be good to yourself, you have no other choice but to be good to others. Take this hand, put it on this shoulder, and pat yourself on the back. And I want you to know that you are the apple of God's eye, that every hair on your head has already been numbered. He knows who you are, where you've been, and where you're going. Yes, he do. He knows where you're going. So even on YouTube, you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's watching you. You never know, because I never knew that one day I would be able to get do an interview for Forbes magazine. God is so good. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, and I'll let you know that I love y'all, and I see y'all soon. Bye.